Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. War Pigs and the debut show being recorded live at an undisclosed location just the way he prefers it. Your conservative radio talk show host, the king of talk radio, Mr. Mike Seaschultz.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning, death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah. Darkness world stops turning, ashes where the body's burning. No more war pigs have the power, and as God has struck the hour, day of judgment, God is calling. Underneath the war pigs crawling, begging mercies for the sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh Lord, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody should be excited about the new radio show. It's 11:19. I'm still up here in my office putting Ethernet wire all over the place. Have you ever tried to network an office and take computers and make people think I'm good at this shit because I'm a computer guy. I build websites and market shit. They think I'm a fucking monitor repairman, a printer repairman. Hey, can you fix my cell phone? Hey, I'm back in the job market. I'm needing a resume. I heard you're good at writing those. Blah, 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 blah. So I became a network engineer. I'm Cisco certified. It only took me 10 minutes. I got the tools here. We're getting everything dialed in, getting all the computers routed together. It's going to be good. I got a South Carolina office, and as soon as we get these pilots out and we show America that we can hold people's attention for any given length of time, that means advertisers want to pour in, and anytime there's money, honey, we got a green light. So I'm not saying we're starting off small. I'm saying we're starting off in one time zone. Big. And I like the East Coast time zone, so I spend a lot of time in Florida. I've been looking at my friends since I've been up here setting up this radio office for the new show up here in South Carolina. There's no palm trees. And, yeah, I'm not such a pussy that I need palm trees. Otherwise, I got to go see my doctor and get, some kind of Prozac or Zoloft medication. Oh, doc, you wouldn't believe it. I've been sleeping 0.73546 less hours per night on average. I've been measuring it since palm trees haven't been in sight, and I've just some people freak out, but the bottom line is we got boys and girls over in Iraq, okay, where it's like 120-degree desert and bullets are flying all over the place and bombs are going off everywhere. Look how the Romans used to live. We become such pandies in this country. When is America going to stop acting this way? When are we going to take responsibility for our lives? When are we going to get accountable for our own actions? When are we going to become willing to stop passing the buck and owning our mistakes and making right wrongs? I didn't say go around being an apology whore. Nobody likes an apology. Oh, I'm sorry. It won't happen. No. What did I do? Okay. Sometimes, honestly, looking at it with new eyes and talking, sometimes I actually didn't do something wrong. It was misinterpretation, whatever the case may be, and then, sometimes you get off the hook that way. So you don't just want to start apologizing all the time. That'd be like OJ walking in, hey, I'm sorry for killing her. Oh, no, we made a mistake. The evidence and Johnny Cochran and the slow speed pursuit and the good lawyer and you get my point. Maybe that's a brazened example that brings up hard feelings in case the Nicole family, anybody's listening over in Hollywood. But I'm making a point. There was once a time in our country where men were tough. They were tough. There was none of this little boy stuff going on. Everybody had pecs and arms and carried battalions, and if you said one wrong word, you got your head knocked in. And it was very simple. You got your head knocked in. And then we got weaker and weaker and weaker, and then we had the Boston Tea Party. That was our show of show. You know how easy it is for me in 2016 to handle a negotiation? A bunch of guys over in the Boston Harbor just had to start throwing tea overboard, and we got their attention. It's fucking tea. They threw it overboard. Shit got crazy. We've gotten weaker and weaker and weaker in our negotiation process. It's become like taking candy from a baby, or tipping over an asleep cow. So anyway, that's my take on that as I sit here with this Ethernet cable. I could never be a surgeon. My hands are so shaky. You know how many fucking fiber optic wires are within one? You never see them because they got the coated, but if you rip one of these suckers open, there's cable after cable. It has to go in the right hole. If you don't stick it in the right hole, she won't be happy. And, it's whatever. I just don't have steady hands. I should get Danny DeVito in here to do this for me. Although his fingers are a little thick. I need short and skinny. Short and skinny. Short and skinny. Definitely not Hillary. She's been putting on some weight. Have you noticed that? I think she's offsetting her depression with food. And food is a very serious topic that we're going to talk a lot about in coming seasons on the show. The food epidemic, epidemiology. You eat to live. You don't live to eat. So many people supporting the fast food chain, and they blame it on the alcohol and the cigarettes, when in fact it's the McDouble, when it's the extra super guaranteed large 84,000 ounce Coke with unlimited free refills because you're a loyalty customer. We're going to fill you up with some more syrup and sugar and make you a fat ass so you can blame it on TV. Well, when I turn on the TV and I see Kim Kardashian and people like that, they set such a high standard for girls like us. It makes me feel terrible, and I don't think it's... Hillary, here, can you take them... This is what we need for our girls. An America stronger together, where we'll put carrots and healthy little juice boxes in their styrofoam... Don't use the word styrofoam. It's not biodegradable. You're supposed to be for the green movement now. In their 100% recycled cardboard lunchbox. You know, it's all just a joke. It was global cooling. Now it's global warming. If you look at the records, we're actually in a global cooling phase right now. They just discovered some icebergs. We got more fucking ice than we know what to do with. Al Gore's got like a power bill. I don't even want to bring that guy up. If you looked at his house, it's such a fraud. It's such a fraud. I was just sitting here with a dear friend in my office. In fact, we've been shooting the breeze for hours. He doesn't like to get on the microphone, but he chimes in, believe me. I don't often need to be corrected, but if I do, he'll make a wave or he'll throw a piece of paper at me. Or if I really need to stand corrected, he'll say something if it's real bad, especially if it's about him. But I won't talk about him. This is my show. This is my radio show, coast to coast. Yes, sirree, Bob. We're starting out a little bit small because that's what you do in radio. One of my favorite talk show host pundits, whom I look up to, whom a lot in the media look down upon because of his brash, over-the-top, sometimes offensive style, is Michael Savage. And he's got a PhD, 2 master's degrees, written 25. He was in the rainforest in Amazon growing plants and doing all kinds of other crap. He didn't think he was going to get on talk radio, but he did. Me, I've traveled, I've seen people, I've built businesses, I've done so many things that we're going to talk about on this radio program. And a lot of times it's going to be fun. And sometimes it's going to be deadly earnest. Especially right now, it's crunch time. Get out the vote. Get out the vote. And if the Russians are doing something, I'll be honest. If they are doing something and it's out of our control, I sure hope they tip the scales in favor of Donald Trump and not Hillary Rodham Clinton. God help us. And I will never admit to saying I wanted fraud to take place in this country, so I can see someday down the road we're going to have to play this whole soundbite. So let's hope I don't accidentally delete this one off my server, huh? Let's hope I have enough gigabytes to save this one on my server. That way when I'm in front of a congressional hearing talking about how I talked poorly about Hillary, I can say, hey, babe, play soundbite 2. Well, you know, and we can play Hillary. How disgusting she looks. Who picks out her lipstick, I wonder? I bet it's Chelsea. I don't think Hillary would pick out lipstick like that. I think Hillary would be a black lipstick wearer, don't you? She seems more like a witch, which is fitting because it's 11:29 on October 31st, 2016. I've conveniently turned out all the lights on the porch so that way the kids don't come up. It's not that I'm not festive, it's that I don't like kids. No, I like some kids, I'll be honest. I like some kids. One friend in particular, a friend of mine in Daytona who's from Boston, his son made me fall in love with kids again. Once I met his son and his son gave me a high five, I said, wow, you know, I almost bought the lie. It came from from over there, what was it called? The Burberg, the wherever, and then they came to Columbia University, and they created a full-on assault on the family model. A full-on assault. Don't act like the family model is not under direct assault. I know it is because I talk to my friends and they say, but Mike, this is 2016 now. It's okay if you've had a gay experience. Listen, the Holy Bible, New King James Version that I read is the same one typically that you're not reading, but if you were to open it up and read it and you felt convicted by any of the words in there, which is ultimately what would happen if you were one of God's children, chosen children, then you would immediately feel the Holy Spirit encapsulate your entire being and there would be no question. So either what is it that you're pretending to not know, or what is it that you want to hide from? Either way, That's why this is Mike Seaschult's talk show. We're going to talk about everything. Was it a mommy-daddy issue? Was it you went to church and somebody touched you inappropriately behind the dumpster after Sunday school issue? Is it I want to do whatever the hell I want and have sex in the streets of San Francisco because I'm not done being a sodomite yet and I'm actually enjoying all this pleasure issue? We're going to get to the bottom of it. We will get to the bottom of it, case by case, caller by caller, right here on the program. I am so excited that we're able to do this right here in Greenville, South Carolina. Trump is set to, a lot of people don't know this. This is a little breaking news. Hold on to your horses. But Donald Trump, from a source of mine, I don't know if this has been published anywhere or not, or if this is insider, in fact, he's set to set up some sort of campaign headquarters here in Greenville, like a main deal operation. I haven't read it anywhere, and I'm glued to Fox News 24/7 and all the papers, and I'm constantly reading and watching like a crystal meth addict looking out his window on day 9. You know what I'm saying? This election is so important. I put my predictions up the other day. I strongly believe we're going to take Florida. Look, I spend a lot of time in Florida. I see nothing but Florida. You are so hard-pressed to find a Hillary sign. I didn't find a Hillary sign till I got up to South Carolina. And this is a red state, allegedly. And I saw many Hillary signs up here. In fact, I was appalled. I almost... First off, I wondered if I was in a dream, because I wondered who would pay for such an atrocious sign in their yard. And then I thought to myself, this has to be a prank. I bet it's that same guy. I don't know if you read the story. You can look it up online later. But there was this weirdo clown. It was right here before I got to Greenville. There was this weird clown. Maybe it was sets of clown, or if they were acting in collaboration. And he said, hey, I'm going to dress up as a clown on Monday. You dress up as a clown on Tuesday. But either way, some weird clown sighting, luring kids into the woods right here in Greenville. With supposedly large sums of cash. They say some of the witnesses that were like moms and stuff, or, their background checked out and they'd have no reason to lie. So maybe there are some weird clowns running around. You know what? I'd be willing to let Hillary Clinton look through my windows with those big, creepy eyes and that caked-on lipstick and peek right through my blinds at me sleep every night, knowing she's not running the country. Wow. Now, there's one caveat. I'm going to need a fully stocked wet bar with a perpetual supply. In other words, it can't run out. If I phone up to the front desk at like 4 in the morning, you can't say, well, we don't sell liquor, Mr. Seaschultz, it's past due. No, you don't understand. Hillary Clinton's looking through my window. Just delete the email I sent you and give me that bottle of Glenfiddich, because I got a long night ahead of me. I gotta be on the radio at 9. So anyway, lots of good stuff going on. Trump is kicking ass and taking names. And you know what I love? All these whores keep coming out of nowhere. Everyone stopped paying, and MSNBC and CNN, they're not even paying attention anymore. Trump has regained the spotlight. It's like, okay, whore. It's getting obvious we're just dealing with a bunch of whores, One uses Gloria Allred, and believe me, from one intellect from another. If I had a civil rights issue, I would consider letting Gloria co-chair my case. I wouldn't let her lead counsel my case. Only a man can have my case. Call me a sexist. Go ahead. Call me a sexist. Tell me that's why I don't want Hillary in office. Call me a sexist. Because that's for another day. I don't want to have that conversation right now about how well a woman can run a company and things like that. There's no doubt about it. I love women bartenders and waitresses and customer service and flight attendants and a litany of things. I don't like women in certain other positions unless they, are big bulldog dykes, the kind that you walk in and your balls shrink up a little bit. You say, I I don't think I'm going to be messing with her. No, she could have both of her hands tied behind her back, a blindfold on, and I would not want to mess with her. I was just telling a story about Daytona Beach and how they do such good marketing. I'm originally, for those of you who don't know, because this is one of our pilot programs, I want the listeners to have a chance to get to know who Mike C. Schultz is, why he's important, what the hell he says matters, and quite frankly, why you should set your dial to tune in every day. And if you happen to miss it, I understand. We live in a world where schedules vary. You'll be able to go online and listen to the podcast anytime, anywhere at your convenience. But I was originally born in Phoenix, Arizona. And I want to set the record straight on the illegal immigration issue. Just for those of you that live in Maine, okay, and the 4 Mexicans you have in town are the humblest, nicest, most wonderful, sweetest, caring, lovely, sweeter than your own family people you've ever met, and all they're trying to do is work hard so they can provide a living for their family. Do those people exist? They sure do. I'm even going to go on the record here and say some of them are my friends, and I'll have this conversation with them. I have it with them over dinner and cocktails. We start off, well, I don't start off pissed. I start off a little animated. They start off fuming. Because if there's one thing about the Latino culture and Latin America and that entire deal, is that they are loyal to their family and usually to their friends. But they're always loyal to La Familia. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. If they can be. If they can be. They can't always be. Because you see, is what happens is they come over that invisible line over the fence in southern Arizona, a line I know all too well because they just flood in. Luckily, a lot of them stay down in Tucson. I can't stand the demographic down in Tucson. I love the scenery. The Catalina Mountains are some of the most beautiful mountain ranges you'll ever see. Do a quick drive-by in your Lambo at 120 miles an hour with your window up and your doors locked, and take a glimpse of the Catalina Mountains, because otherwise a member of MS-13 is likely to hop in and take your grandmother's purse. So don't make it a sight-seeing adventure. But up in Phoenix, it's not getting much better. The buffer zone is disappearing. In fact, all of a sudden this year, Arizona's a toss-up state. As long as I can remember, Arizona's been red. It's been red. Now it's you know why it's a toss-up? You know why it's a toss-up? Because so many Mexicans, whether illegal or not, it doesn't matter. Univision and Telemundo have even poisoned the legal ones by form of brainwashing them to believe, by taking sound bites and inaccurate quotes of soon-to-be President Donald J. Trump and making him sound like a complete monster. A complete monster. Something that's not being covered on the media nationwide. I'm giving you a first-hand account of my 23 years of living in Arizona. Let me start with what I do remember. Okay? I actually retain memory from a very young age. I was a gifted child. I can recall fuzzy memory, some clear, some not so clear, from about the age of 3, 4, they become pretty good. And I remember riding down the highway. You have I-10 in Arizona, you have 60, you have lots of different highways, the 101, there's freeways all over the place. It's a major metropolitan area, the Phoenix metropolitan area. It's Maricopa County. Sheriff Joe, God bless him. He's tough. A lot of people hate him, but we need tough, okay? We need tough, so get on with it. Pink underwear, the green baloney. If you don't like it, go to jail. And if you're honestly that innocent, you should have enough people who care about you, or at least have the money to post the minute bond that you don't have to eat one single meal there. If you're so destitute that you're stuck in there, chances are you're a drug addict, a drunk, somebody nobody cares about anymore because you've screwed so many people over, or you're simply on an ice hold. Okay? People are going at home, what's an ice hold? They're going, an ice hold? I mean, is that like where they don't want to give me ice for my cocktail? No. ICE stands for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, okay? And under a Donald Trump presidency, he's gonna untie their hands. They're like dogs. They just wanna pounce on this situation, and here's why. Not because they're racist. They, by and large, when you get closer to the border, at least my personal testimony, I'll go on the record in a court of law. I'll go on the record before Congress. I'll go on the record before the Senate. I will gladly go on the record to give my testimony of what it was like the 23 years that I can remember, and be truthful and not use any hyperbole, not exaggerate, but just stick to 100% of what I know are the facts. And I know in most instances, if not all, polygraph examinations are not admissible in court, but I'm so certain about what I'm saying, I'm even willing to be hooked up to a polygraph examination during a live feed on C-SPAN while I get asked these questions. This is not a race issue. This is not a Mexican issue. This is a national security issue, and it is an issue about safety and love. When it all comes down to it, it's love. You know something? I'm not a big black and white guy. I would probably make a corrupt criminal defense lawyer. There, now you got your soundbite for when I'm running for office. Mike Seaschultz, on Halloween in 2016, admitted he would make a corrupt criminal defense lawyer. I don't mean I would violate any ethical things or any oaths or any sworn duties or confidentiality. Is what I mean is common sense things, like if I get called out to a domestic dispute at a home and it turns out that I feel that the husband and wife are being truthful and the little girl just got scared because mommy and daddy's finances are all messed up, as many people's are, and she called, but I smell the smell of marijuana. What smells to me to smell like marijuana billowing out of the home. Now, what am I supposed to do here? Well, now we're talking if I was a cop, not a criminal defense lawyer. If I was a criminal defense lawyer, I'd do everything to get him off if that's all it was marijuana, because marijuana is the safest drug out there. This is where me and other radio talk show hosts are going to differ. They're going to say it's making people slower. They're going to say it's making people dumber, slowing reaction times. For some reason, there is this big attack on marijuana, and really is what it comes down to is two things. The main one being money from all ends. The pharmaceutical companies are going to go bust once we stop killing scientists by the left and right who are unleashing its true potential. I don't believe for 1 second that we don't have the best and the brightest uncovering new cures for things that generate billions and trillions of dollars, and people disappear. It's what happens. But two, even if you tax the living hell out of it and you manage to get along and just come up with new stuff so that way everybody can play ball, look, Denver's done a great job. Denver's making a fortune. the government then has to save face. So they're doing a little experimental project. They've done it in recreationally, up in Washington and Colorado. I had the pleasure of flying into Denver. They have this creepy blue iron horse when you drive around the turnpike after you get out of Denver International Airport, DIA they call it. It's this creepy ass blue horse standing on its back 2 feet with these red, evil, glowing eyes. But anyway, I had the pleasure of flying in there. I believe it was January 13th of 2014. Recreational law went into effect on the 1st. So I've been in town like 13 days, and there are more Starbucks not to be seen than dispensaries in a place like Denver. In other words, I switched the words. There are dispensaries everywhere. People are lined up. Moreover, no one's wrecking their cars. Nobody's beating up their wives. Crime's down 14%. And everyone's just having a great old time. And the state is making so much money. It's unbelievable. And it's bringing jobs. It's bringing sustainable American jobs and taking them out of the hands of, because so much weed is shipped over the border from Mexico. Now, I know the cartels don't like that very much, but that's okay. Pretty soon there's going to be a big, 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 beautiful wall. And the Mexicans laugh when they hear me say that. And they say, we'll just build the tunnel. And there's going to be sensors to detect the tunnels. And there's going to be drones in the sky. There's going to be helicopters. Yeah, it's going to look like a New World Order total war zone. You know what, folks? Maybe it is. What if, just what if, the way you think things aren't? And how willing are you at any given time to change your mind? Look, I'm all for people coming here legally. I know some really great Latinos. I know a lot of Mexicans spending 23 years in Arizona, a lot of them that run businesses. I don't know how the hell they got a driver's license, but they probably took a social security number from a dead person. That's fine. They used it wisely. Their children are wonderful. They're polite. They're mannered. These are some of the greatest people you'd ever meet. Often and many times, those ones are better than many of the Americans I meet. But as what I'm telling you is we're focusing on a small, very small number. A number that has been exploited by the media and frankly, by people who don't live on border states down here and don't get to see this kind of stuff firsthand year after year after year. The gang violence is so horrendous. The rape, the guns, the drugs. But most of all is what pisses me off. I can deal with drugs and guns, right? I'm kind of like a cowboy. I like to get a little wild sometimes. I don't mind that. But there's got to be a rhyme and a purpose. And these cartel thugs need zero reason to simply look 50, 100 yards away, notice you're white, and say, you know what, I'm either going to assault, rape, and or maybe all of the above, kill you. I know. I was walking down the road in Phoenix, wasn't even that late, probably 11:30, maybe back, I don't know, 2012? I got in an altercation with 3 of them. They don't fight fair either, by the way. If you catch one by himself, you're still probably outnumbered unless you're armed, because chances are he's at least got a knife or something to poke you with. Maybe one of those little miniature pencils that he kept from the jail he just got released from for the 5th time because we won't send him the hell back. We have to slam the border shut with Mexico. If we don't, we're absolutely, without fail, going to lose our country. That's what a country is. A country has borders, it has culture, and it has language. And the language of the United States is English. And that's it. Look, if you want to take an elective, I think that's wonderful. I took French for a little while because I was so pissed off with the Mexican kids I had to go to school with, and all the abuse and drama that I couldn't, it was out of hate and resentment, to be honest with you. Now I've brought it down to a new level. I've had to look at it from a position of facts, humanitarianism, Christianity, brotherly love, helping out others, loving thy neighbor as thy love them. It's so much more than color. But what is happening coming over from Mexico right now, especially in Arizona, but also in states like Texas, California, and others, but especially in Arizona, is the streets are war ravaged. At certain hours, you can't walk out without even being mugged, taunted, spit on, called a bitch, burning the American flag. You hold the door open for them. They pretend not to speak English, but then all of a sudden when it involves money or putting a rake in their hand because the guy out front who's going to pay him under the table just got back from Home Depot. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So he could have said thank you when I held the goddamn door open, when really I should be calling ICE on his ass. Where I'm from, you say thank you when someone opens the door for you. Now, I'm no French, Francais, cunning linguist, let me romanticize you, but even I know. In France, they speak English, so I could get by with saying thank you most likely, but no. No, I'm going to say merci, or merci beaucoup, thank you, or thank you very much. I'm going to use the native tongue. I would have even been less pissed if he said de nada, because then I knew he made an effort. Unless, of course, he said de nada and then went out and started saying thank you. Then I'd feel like he was being a smartass. But then, I'd be like, okay, the guy's got mad. Look, we don't know everybody who's coming in the country. And firsthand, I started going to kindergarten in Mesa, Arizona. Our classrooms were overfilled. They have a program called ESL. It stands for English as a Second Language. So much time and resources goes into teaching illegal immigrant children who, by the way, don't want to learn. They want to get expelled from school, most of them, and join gangs and disrespect their parents and run the alleyways late at night. But let's assume a few do actually want to learn, okay? Because I was there and I know the numbers are bad, okay? The vast majority didn't want to. So now you're wasting all these time and resources that could have went to me. Thank God I'm a really smart guy and I was able to go out and gather this information on my own, and thank God the Groilers and the Encyclopedia Britannica went away and we have this thing called the internet, and thank God patriot-loving Americans and international patriots like you fought to keep the internet from being censored so we can continue to tap in to this uncensored information base and make decisions for ourselves. But it's funny. You go up to Harvard, you go up to Yale, they sit around drinking their lattes. They got out the New York Times, Brooks Brothers outfit. They don't know anything else other than the New York Times. My IQ is really only a 105, but I taught myself how to talk like this and dress myself in Brooks Brothers and sip on this latte really slow. I would sip on it fast, except I hate the taste of coffee. It's far too sophisticated for me, but I have to look sophisticated because, after all, I go to an Ivy League school and my only source of news is the New York Times, and if I haven't been up late studying from that terrible lecture, I might get a chance to turn on MSNBC and watch that person, Rachel Maddow, gallivant around with her G.I. Jane hair and her butch, badass, left-wing slanted attitude. And that's all the news some people get. So you can't have a conversation with these people. So people want to argue. They immediately want to jump to, I see it all the time. I go out in public and I see from both sides, they want to argue. Nobody knows how to properly argue. You know why? We started having sex and doing cocaine and crystal meth in the bathrooms. We stopped going to debate class. We stopped playing our tenor saxophone at the jazz. class and the other special electives. We just threw it all down the tube. And from what they told me as I was going to school, the classroom really should have been about, per teacher ratio, about 20 kids, maybe tops, 20. I had 30 to 35 children in my class because of the uncanny, unthinkable, can't even wrap your head around it, illegal immigration population. So now not only is my whole childhood of school dealing with this, luckily I wound up going to a really nice high school in junior high, so I kind of dodged it. I got some good education and avoided it for a little while. But it was hard, and I didn't avoid it altogether, but I mean, as good as a buffer as one could put in, it was put in, and I was put in with some people who loved this country and loved our flag and wanted to work and didn't want to come in and get something for nothing. Oh, they want to take the kid to the hospital because he stubbed his toe on a desk and rack up a $1,500 ambulance ride, and they think that that's perfectly okay. Perfectly okay. Well, it isn't. It isn't. And the violence and the crime and the safe houses where they have 20 Mexicans and drugs living in one house, and feces and dead animals and dead hookers and dead coyotes and dead. The money goes into Mexico, the drugs and everything else, just like Trump says, comes over. But Mike, they're such humble, hard-working. Look, I'm not going to keep having the same argument over and over. Many of them are. I didn't say most. I said many of them. I know a guy who's an appliance repairman in Phoenix. He drives a beautiful Porsche. Funniest son of a bitch you ever met. We play poker together sometimes. We go, play a little 1-2, no limit Texas Hold'em, after a long day's. Well, guys like us don't really, work hard per se with our hands, but we do with our minds, and that's oftentimes more mentally exhausting than it is physically exhausting. So, all through school, it was a disaster. As time went on, the classroom sizes seemed to just keep getting bigger and bigger, and it became a big issue. It became a big issue for me. I had to get up and get something to drink. I was ranting for 40 minutes straight there. That was a long rant. So it looks like the Ethernet cables in the office, well, I don't know, it's only midnight. Trick or treat. We started the show on October 31st, and it's now November 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an important vote coming up here in about 8 days. I want to switch gears. I get so tired of talking about illegal aliens. Let me put it to you like this, okay? If it was a white guy doing it or a Mexican doing it, I might give leniency to either one. You know who I'm going to give leniency to? The one who has remorse and the one who respects the United States of America and its values. If you're an illegal immigrant in this country and you have remorse and you love this country and you don't try to pull the wool over the eyes and you don't try to jam us into a third world nation and you have true love in your heart and your intentions are good, that's what I mean by I wouldn't make a good criminal defense lawyer, because I might have a little compassion and make some paperwork disappear all of a sudden. Because things aren't always black and white. We live in a gray world. Hillary lives in a very, very gray world. I think she needs to come back into color. Hillary, hey, you swam off too far into the gray ocean. You need to come back into the black and gray area, please. Hillary Clinton, she is in for a mess. Folks, this reminds me of one of my favorite child time stories. I don't even remember how it goes. I haven't heard it in years, but it reminds me of it. I don't know why. One of those weird things. The tortoise and the hare. You remember the tortoise and the hare? Where the tortoise, he's going really, and there's like a circular track. You know how they have race tracks? I think this one was in the shape of a circle. So we'll call it a circle. The turtle and the, also known as a tortoise, okay, and the hare, also known as a rabbit, they both get the same advantage, as in the same starting time, the same starting distance, and boom, off goes the starting gun and off goes the rabbit. Looks like he's smoking the tortoise in the dust, and then next thing you know, at last minute, the tortoise wins. The tortoise wins. And the funny thing is this is a hard story to compare to the tortoise and the hare, because that would assume that like Donald was slow throughout this whole. No, he's been kicking ass and taking names the whole time up until like a month or two ago, when a few feminists came out and they thought that they would throw a little vaginal grabbing into the mix. Like, who the hell cares if he grabbed their pussy, okay? It takes him this long. All right, if you're that traumatized, let me tell you something. I was standing online at a grocery store one day, and I saw a guy grab a female's pussy, and she screamed, and she went absolutely ballistic. Everybody turned and looked. The guy went to jail. They didn't wait years and years, and he grabbed me by the pussy. You just wouldn't believe how uncomfortable he made me feel. Give me a break. They're all a bunch of whores. They thought they'd get something in return. Does that make it right? I actually don't care to comment on that, to be honest with you. I play by a different set of rules than the mainstream media and then other radio talk show hosts. I play by a completely different set of rules, because if you marry her and it turns out that she's really a gold-digging you-know-what underneath it all, and she's not the person you married, but you find out she's someone very, very different one day, that's legalized that's extreme. We should start a reality show called Extreme Legalized Prostitution. Becky just took executive businessman for $3.8 million, but wait, here comes Mary Ann for a whopping $18.9 mil. How'd you do it? Well, when his lawyers came in the office and they were talking about this thing called a prenup, I just gave him this puppy dog eye look face and said, baby, we're going to be together forever. So basically, if a guy has enough sense, in this case, this isn't like illegal immigration. If they came over here and respected us and didn't break the law, I probably wouldn't even care. But quite frankly, I do, because they don't. But this, on the other hand, this is a man who wants to preserve his wealth. Now, I don't know about you, but unless you were a trust fund baby or stumbled upon a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow or hit the lottery, but if you hit the lottery, you're probably dead of a drug overdose right now, because nobody knows what to do when they hit the lottery. Give me the lottery winnings. I'll invest that money like you wouldn't believe. But unless you're one, what's the big deal? So you pay $5,000, $10,000, maybe $20,000. Maybe you get one of them real nice madam ones. Remember the DC madam? Maybe you get one of them nice little cutie patooties with the lace stockings, and she can actually hold on a business conversation with you when you go down to K Street or Roost Chris or wherever, whatever your heart desires. And then you pay her to go, and it cost you $10,000 or $20,000. Hey, $10 million saved is $10 million earned to me. But no. Let's put a mugshot of you on TMZ, and you'll never believe this. Charlie Sheen in a hotel room filled with porn stars and hookers. Trying to defame them. But actually, they're not even trying to defame the man's character, because they all like him. Really, it's all media, and they get good ratings and it's all about money. So let's get back to money. We are going to talk a lot about money on this show. I'm going to occasionally use words like pussy and bitch and fuck her and that filthy cunt Hillary Clinton. She ought to be thrown in prison. How dare her? I'm occasionally going to say stuff like that. So in general, it's a program that's marked MA for mature audiences only. I might even, when the FCC gets involved, have to go to a higher rating if there is one. I don't know. I don't know anything. I just got into radio. All I know is I like to talk and I love to educate the American people. And the thing I like to talk about most is money. Funny stories. I've lived a life like you wouldn't believe. We're going to go over my life. I have some funny stories. I love to talk about money, funny stories, sex, politics, greed, gambling, criminality, and sleaziness. Yes, I love talking about sleaziness because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Something I thought was pretty sleazy was Hillary Clinton and her campaign paying unresters to violently attack and maul innocent victims at Donald Trump rallies, namely those in Chicago. Now, I'm going to wrap up my pilot segment because I have some work to do. I'm going to talk about a couple other things. First, the election being rigged. Yes, the election's rigged, but Donald Trump is such a juggernaut force to be reckoned with. The primaries were rigged. I hope the Russians are hacking the son of a bitch. You know, we went to computers now. It's not like everything's paper ballot. I hope there's some little Russian nerd over there with his glass of vodka typing away. Typing away. Get to work, pal. And I hope we pay him good. I mean, give that kid $1 billion. I mean, the money we'll save just on trade deficits. I mean, send that kid away. But the election is rigged because, quite frankly, 1 in 4 states in the United States now offer an illegal alien the right to obtain a driver's license. Well, how can that be? How can that be? You know, it's funny. I just had a driver's license issue in Arizona, and I had to come up with more information than I did for the mortgage. I had to come up with a social security card. I had to come up with a proof of residency. I had to come up with bills. I don't even know where my birth certificate is. That thing's so far fucking gone in a storage unit somewhere. I had to... So 1 in 4 states will allow an illegal immigrant to obtain a driver's license. Okay, whatever. Maybe they come in with a dead person's social security card and they got a good Photoshop guy. Fine. So here they are, and here they're voting. Do you think they're going to vote for Trump? These people who aren't polling and who aren't showing up to the primary. There is going to be an invisible number of Trump haters who are all Latino, like I'd say over 90%, okay? All Latino, no speak English, but I driver license. I want to vote for Hillary. And what the fuck just happened? Millions and millions of times over. You want to tell me millions and millions of votes don't count? We got a serious problem on our hands, people. So, for anyone to say that Trump wasn't gracious for not saying he would politely concede, oh yes, if Hillary gets it, I'll do what we've done for the last X who gives a fuck number of years and go up and shake her rugged, satanic hand and say congratulations, Harry. No, I wouldn't either, because if I went up to the coffee bar to grab a coffee and I came back and I noticed 2 of my pawns on the chessboard were moved and I didn't move them, and all of a sudden I find myself in a checkmate position, the game was rigged and there's no handshake. And I go, you moved my pawns, pal. He says, no, I didn't. I said, as sure as shit as I'm sitting here, you moved my fucking pawns. You calling me a liar? And he's either going to get embarrassed and calm down and admit and say, I'm sorry. He's either going to keep up with me, which most people don't have the gravitas, not in a public setting like that when everyone's staring. Me, I don't give a shit. Or the police are going to get called. That's probably going to happen anyway. Or he's going to take it outside. Whatever combination of events happens, when a game is rigged, the loser who had a unfair, it was unfair, they're at a complete, they were set up. Look at Bernie Sanders and the superdelegates. Look at the whole damn thing. Between that and all the powers that be. So that isn't to recap what you already know. That's just to say I'm actually with Donald Trump, and unless this looks real clean, which it's not going to look clean no matter what, I'm going to have to, heaven forbid he doesn't just take it, November 8th or early November 9th, there's might be recounts, things like that. But if he doesn't take it, then it wouldn't be fair and square based on those facts that I just gave you, the audience. That should infuriate you. That should really piss you off. As a lifelong American and native Arizona, somebody who grew up in the beautiful desert, where the saguaro cacti calls its place home, where we have some of the driest conditions anywhere and some of the most beautiful sunsets and skylines and mountain views everywhere. I plead that you go take a trip and don't go on the tour guide's trip. Get off at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. Consult with your lawyer first and any legal counsel, because I can't vouch for your... I'm not going to get sued because you went in the hood and you saw what real illegal immigration was about. You should be fine as long as you do a good enough speed. Don't stare them down and keep your doors locked. But head west, okay? Don't go east of Phoenix into all the streets. That's all they do. Go into West Phoenix when you get into the avenues. 1st Ave, 2nd Ave, 3rd Ave, 4th Ave, 25th Ave. Go take a ride into the west side of Phoenix for an hour or two. You'll be so disappointed that you've been so naive for so long that you will apologize to all of your friends and family, co-workers, anybody you've been calling a racist for all these years. Because that's a fact. The illegal immigration problem looks like a complete war zone when you go into certain parts of Phoenix, and most of them, quite frankly. But there are nice secluded areas where if you're, you get profiled and arrested. There are snooty areas. Those are ones they want to show and act like, no, it's a big deal. It's a really, really big deal. Go drive around. You could drive around for 5 hours and not run out of disgusting things to see. Call into the show. Tell me about it. Tell me, hey, C. Schultz, me and my wife did just what you asked us to do. Look, we're retired. We got a bunch of extra money. We only went to the Biltmore and to Scottsdale. We decided to go rent a vehicle and go ahead and drive all over West Phoenix. We even did it at nighttime. You were not kidding, Michael. I mean, and let people know. Let's start corroborating evidence. We've got 8 days left. Let the American people know what a war zone is going on, and not just there, down in southern Texas, southern California too. I just choose Phoenix because that's my home state. I'll be right back. So, we're about to come to an end on our beginning of our wonderful, long, many years together here on radio. Advertisement free tonight. Fully self-funded. Doing a couple test runs in my office while I'm hooking it up. I figured, hey, why not get on and do some? I wasn't able to take any calls tonight, just simply because I couldn't deal with any stupid liberal callers or anybody who wanted to debate me on how great Hillary was, because I still got to get this Ethernet thing figured out, and quite frankly, I think I'd end up just taking a lorazepam and probably going and falling asleep on the couch without dinner. So one last thing I want to talk about before we go, and I'm going to hit a nerve, especially with women. Now, unless you have some sort of disease that keeps you fat, Okay, there's some people, they got to knock down the walls on the house and throw them into a dumpster and get a helicopter to take them out some sort of fucking disease. I'm not a medical guy. I'm a business guy and a law guy, but there are apparently diseases where no matter how much one puts the fork down, okay, they can't seem to shred any pounds. All right. Excluding them, which is virtually none. Every fat ass listening to the show right now saying, well, yeah, that's me, I switched down from 8,000 calories to 6,000 calories, and now I walk 40 steps instead of 18. No, that's what I'm talking about. It's very simple. We have a food epidemic in this country. I saw it firsthand. I went through a phase where I was working out of the house. I think it was I don't know. It was between 2010 and 12, somewhere in there. I looked at my driver's license photo and I said, holy shit. I had these big, huge chipmunk cheeks, and I didn't even recognize. Now, this was only 30 pounds. It's not like I went way out of control, but the moment I looked and the moment I ran into old friends who hadn't seen me in just a not very long period of time, said, wow, man, you putting on some. And I didn't like the way I looked. Now, it's not that I was morbidly obese, but my face and the tone and everything, when people look at me now and I can laugh and compare it to that old driver's license photo, they go, man, wow, you look way better now. It's totally different. I said, yeah, you know the secret? I put the fork down. I mean, it was just that simple. I had a good friend there in Daytona Beach, over in Florida. I spend some time there from time to time. I'm a big traveler. I'm like a vagabond. I get around. And he said, wow, you are getting skinny. I literally went on a water fast for 3 days. Like, okay, people say, oh my God, Mike, that's unhealthy. We need to admit you to are we sure you don't need to call the suicide helpline? Are you sure we don't need to put you on Prozac? No, I'm fine. Jesus fasted for many, many days and many, many nights out there in that wilderness. And many people get rid of cancers and other diseases simply by fasting. Now, if you're going to do a really, really long one, or any for that matter, because I'll get sued. So if you're going to do a fast of any sort, please consult a medical professional or your doctor. But anyway, it's basically been proven to be safe, and it's how ancients and people for many years have fought off illness. It's a natural way for the body to detox, to clean out all that red meat, supposing you still have red meat in your diet. I do, unfortunately. I'm trying to cut it out and limit it as much as possible, just because I can see how bad it is on the system and the cancer it's causing in my friends, and these are friends that eat almost exclusively red meat. But it's not so much that. It's the sugar and the carbs. You don't cut out carbs. That whole thing's a farce. But the sugar is the big, big, big deal. And it's hidden. It's hidden in your label. It's hidden under things like dextrose and listrose and blah, blah, blah. Sugar. My friend Robert, I hassled him for probably... And I'll have him on the show. He'll tell you the story. I'll have him on the show. I'll post it up on the website. My buddy Robert. I'm not going to say his last name. I don't know if he's comfortable with it. He probably will be, because he's an entrepreneur like me and he'll get to plug his business. But he was this big fat ass motherfucker, and all he did was smoke weed all day every day, and he wasted it. It's Arizona. You got the medical, and he has a condition warranting it, but he has to get a big, huge ass blunt wrap out every time. So all he does is smoke weed, and I see him with these fucking 64-ounce soda pops. Constant. I mean, constantly. Never drinks water. And I said, Robert, you're killing yourself. And at the time, I'm 28 years old right now with no college degree or anything. At the time, he must have really thought I was a schmuck, because I've always been skinny. This was before I had to even put on the 30 pounds I was telling you about. I said, that soda's killing you. It's full of sugar. It's pure corn syrup. It's pure corn syrup, Robert. And after years and years of what could be described as, stress disorder, maybe I bullied the guy and created an eating disorder for him, but so be it, sue me. I looked at him one day because we lost touch for a while because we got in an argument and we couldn't resolve it for longer than usual. And this was actually when I flew down to Denver, and I took a look at him, and the guy lost like 100 pounds. I mean, he was as skinny as I am. And it was crazy to look at. And I said, Jesus Christ, man, would you have liposuction? He said, nope. Would you start hitting the gym? Nope. He says, I cut out sugar. I put down the soda pot, and I went to high protein. He says, I make myself an egg burrito for breakfast or lunch and an egg burrito for dinner. And I know that sounds pretty fucking boring, but if you want to shave the pounds, that's what you do. You cut out the sugar, you do high protein. Funny enough, he had more energy and liveliness than he ever had. His self-confidence was something I'd never seen, because I think I've known him 16 years now, and all the years of knowing him, I've only known him as a heavier set man. And now here's a guy who's got a whole new lease on life simply by taking the advice of a babe, if you will. Like, what the hell did I know? But I've been studying the effects of sugar and aspartame. Aspartame's for another segment. We'll talk about that another time. But the effects of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. They're putting high fructose corn syrup in almost everything. Everything you think is healthy. It's in your bread. It's in everywhere. The high fructose corn syrup. And to wrap up my point about Donald Trump calling women fat pigs is where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going with this. I'm defending Trump on this one. You see, the thing about the Donald is he knows what hard work is all about. Hillary says he got a $14 million loan, perhaps when you adjust for inflation. I don't know. I haven't crunched the numbers because I don't really care if he got a $100 million loan. I don't really care. But supposedly it was $1 million from dad and then turned into 14. But he built up this incredible company. And in 1990, it wasn't even so much Atlantic City or anything like that related when everything was about to go bust. And they gave him a really big interest-free loan. One of the banks, they rolled the dice with him. And he often sleeps 2-3 hours a night. His lunch break often, if you've read, I'm just quoting from The Art of the Deal because I bought the book back when he announced he was running. I've been for Trump for a long time because I like his business acumen. But if you read the book, it's phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call all day. Cut to the chase. It's not going to be like this hour and 5 minutes of me ranting. If I'm on the phone with the Donald, I can guarantee you our call is going to be 5-10 minutes at best. We've got stuff to do. I happen to be going into radio, so now I've had to free up my schedule to rant on radio instead of, there's a million other things I could be doing with my life, just like there's a million other things Donald could be doing with his life, like playing golf and grabbing pussies, okay? But instead is what he's done is he's decided to take on one of the hardest tasks in the world. And when he attacked a woman on her looks, Rosie O'Donnell was and is a slob. Who can deny that? Who can deny that? And everyone, he said, she's a pig, she's a this, she's a... Look, the guy isn't going to be politically correct. And pretty much all of talk radio is going to be politically correct, with the exception of Michael Savage, but they cut him off. So, here we are. It's November 1st. One of our first, in fact, the first test episode with some of my new sound equipment. I might have to tweak it, but we have many, many episodes to come. I think Trump is going to be married to our station. Trump is absolutely going to be married to the conservative juggernaut Mike C. Schultz. Because I'm going to break the news fairly. I'm going to cover it squarely. Trump can call me right up and we're going to broadcast it live. I mean, he's got Twitter, but as far as a radio rant with millions of listeners, which I will have, Trump will always have an outlet here, whether he becomes president of the United States or not. And I'm going to try to get back to getting this Ethernet done. I still can't figure out what these blue and red and orange and green wires are. But yeah, and moms, dads, if you've got a big, humongous, fat kid in the house and you're skinny and your wife's skinny and your sons are skinny and you got your daughter who's fat and she's constantly complaining about being bullied, but every time you turn around she's got an ice cream cone and a 64-ounce thirst buster of Coca-Cola shoving down her gullet. Perhaps it's time to tell her the truth, practice some parenting skills. America, we need to put down the fork and watch our eating habits. I mean, enough's enough. Enough's enough. We're getting way too fat. And if we're going to offset the costs, it's going to take us a little while to get the illegal aliens out, but we're going to get them out. In the meantime, fat people are costing us without insurance a lot at the hospitals. Let's help offset those costs until we can get these illegal aliens the hell out of here. I'm your host, Mike C. Schultz. It's been a pleasure. And if nobody told you they love you today, I love you. A house divided will not and cannot stand. Yes, we have to come together as a country, but that doesn't mean through political correctness and accepting our Second Amendment being taken under siege or our First Amendment